Greetings to all. In this video, we are going to learn about Hardy's, his work, The Mayor of Casterbridge. About him, he was an English novelist and poet, a Victorian realist in the tradition of George Eliot. He was influenced both in his novels and in his poetry by Romanticism, including the poetry of William Wordsworth. He was highly critical of much in Victorian society, especially on declining status of rural people in Britain. Hardy's education was interrupted by his work as an architect. He wanted to attend the university and become an Anglican minister, but a lack of funds and his declining interest in religion made him away from the avocations and more towards a self-study of poetry and writing. He wrote many verses, and The Poor Man and the Lady was rejected by several publishers, but one editor, George Mendes, encouraged him, and so Hardy set out to refine his style. A second story, Desperate Remedies, was accepted and published. His next novel, Under the Greenwood Tree, demonstrated a more polished Hardy now coming into his own style. 1870, Hardy was sent by his employer to begin a restoration project of the St. Juliet Church in Cornwall. Here he met his first wife Emma Lavinia Gifford, whom Hardy married in 1874. He encouraged Hardy to write and by 1872, he left architecture to devote his time to his literary career. He left his career as an architect. He did so with a contract for 11 monthly installment of A Tale, A Fair of Blue Eyes in the Cornell magazine. His reputation as one of the England newer novelists sustained the Hardy family from that time. Hardy published two more novels, Tessa the Harborville and the Jude the Obscure, which were his last non-fiction works. He wrote short stories, poems, and plays for the rest of his life. Two further volumes of poetry and short stories appeared: The Dynast, a drama of the Napoleonic Wars, and the Wars. A volume of verse. Orley was quite prolific during this period, writing some 900 poems on a variety of subjects. His work, The Mayor of Casterbridge, the novel opens on a dirt road near the village of Maiden Prayers in the English country of Essex. Michael Enchard, a hairdresser, is traveling with his wife Susan and young daughter Elizabeth Jane. A passing farmer tells the Henchard that there is no chance of finding employment or housing in the village. Discouraged, Michael takes his family to a furniture seller's tent in Wyden Perrier. The furniture seller adds liquor to Michael's meal and offers on serving. Michael becomes an angry drunk because he believes his marriage at a young age ruined all his chances for success. He offers to sell his wife and daughter to the highest bidder. After several unanswered calls for bids, Susan says that someone should buy her since her present owner is not to her liking. Most of the other customers in the tent treat the auction as a joke, but soon a passing sailor hears the announcement and enters the tent. He offers to buy Susan and Elizabeth Jane for 5 guineas. First, making sure that Susan is willing to go, when Michael takes the money, Susan and Elizabeth Jane leave with the sailor. Before leaving, Susan asks her wedding ring and tells Michael. Michael merely falls into a drunken slumber as the rest of the shocked customer leave. The next morning, Michael awakens, seeing the wedding ring and the money, brings the events of the previous evening back to him. He realizes that he was partly to blame for his action, but he also blames Susan for actually thinking that the auction would be binding. Nevertheless, because his excessive drinking caused the whole situation, he makes an oath. He will abstain from all liquor for 21 years. Then he sets out to search of his wife and daughter. At first, the search is unsuccessful because Michael refuses to explain the circumstances of their parting. He learns that three people matching the description of the sailor Susan and Elizabeth Jane have just immigrated. Resigned, Michael gives up the search and goes to another town in Wessex, the town of Castlebridge. 18 years later, Susan and Elizabeth and Jane return to Maiden Prior searching for Michael. Elizabeth Jane believes that Michael is just a relative. Since Susan has kept her previous marriage a secret, Susan seeks Michael because she believes that he can help them now that the sailor named Newson has died. The women stop in the Fermity Seller's tent, which is still there. They learn that Michael stopped in the tent a year after the auction and left word that he lived in Casterbridge. Susan and Elizabeth Jane leave for Casterbridge right away. When the women arrive in Castlebridge, they learn that Michael has become extremely influential as a prosperous merchant and the mayor of the town. The night they arrive, the town people are discussing Michael's bad business deals in selling sprouted grain. A young Scotsman, Donald Sparkray, overhears the discussion and gives Michael some suggestions for making the grain useful. Sparkray also engaged in a light filtration with Elizabeth Jane. Michael and Susan meet secretly. They decide to keep their past relationship a secret from Elizabeth Jane. In fact, Michael suggests that they begin the relationship again. Susan should rent a cottage and allow Michael to court her in a respectable manner. Susan complies and soon after they marry. Michael hopes that comedy can openly acknowledge Elizabeth Jane as his daughter. At the same time, Michael has success in business as well, choosing Fairplay as his general manager and a confidant. Fairplay's charm impresses the town people and gains the attention of Elizabeth Jane once again. Michael has taken the young man under his wing and regards him almost as a brother. The only enemy Fairplay as in Joseph Baju, a man who wanted the position of general manager. When Susan and Michael remarry, Michael has another period of prosperity thanks to Fairplay's skills. The new wealth to which Fairplay Jan has been introduced produces a new beauty in her. Michael becomes fond of her and wants her to take his name legally. Susan, however, is reluctant to agree. Fairplay also takes an interest in Elizabeth Jane. However, Elizabeth Jane's shyness and the discard between Fairplay and Michael have stopped any hope of their romance. Fairplay and Michael first have the disagreement over the punishment for an habitually late worker, Abel White. Next, during the public celebration, Fairplay diversion are a success, while Michael's are a complete failure. The town people openly praise Fairplay, which leads Michael to remark that Fairplay's term as a general manager is ending. Susan writes, leaving a letter for Michael that is not to be opened until Elizabeth Jane's wedding day. Michael is lonely from the arguments with Fairplay and the lack of any time with Elizabeth Jane, so he tells the girl that he is her father. After thinking it over, Elizabeth Jane is convinced. Michael finds Susan's letter and reads it. The letter reveals that Michael's own daughter died, and this Elizabeth Jane is the child of the sailor Newson. The discovery shocks and angers Michael, and he becomes cold to Elizabeth Jane without telling her the truth. Elizabeth Jane is confused, but tries to win the love of Michael by immersing herself in her studies. She also visits her mother's grave. One day she meets a wealthy and charming young man at Susan's grave, and she pours out her story to that woman. The lady, Miss Lucida Templeman, says she will soon be a resident of Castlebridge, and she would like it if Elizabeth Ryan can be her companion. Michael allows it despite his misgiving. Elizabeth Jan leaves that day. Lucita invites Michael to her home, even going so far as to send Elizabeth Jane away on errands just to convince him to visit. Michael and Lucita had an agreement long ago when he was in Jersey. Now that Susan is dead, Lucita wishes to renew the agreement. To her joy, a caller comes out, but it is Parfrey coming to call on Elizabeth Jane. Lucita and Parfrey are instantly attracted to each other. Parfrey and Michael extended into business, complicating the situation. Michael hires Joshua Joe as his general manager and orders Joe to do all he can to force Parfrey out of business. Michael tried to base his client purchase of prediction of weather profit, but the prediction is incorrect and the bad investment drives Michael into debt. Parfrey buys wisely and gains money. Despite his losses, Michael is still determined to marry Lucita. After learning that Fairplay is the secret suitor, Michael forces Lucita to agree marrying him or he will reveal their past connection by using her earlier love letter. Meanwhile, Michael has terrible luck in business. One of his debtors fails. His men make bad decisions about Khan to bring about Michael's bankruptcy. Fairplay takes the opportunity to buy Michael's headquarters and offer a job to Michael. Michael accepts but feels real hatred at Fairplay's success. After all, Fairplay is the popular choice for mayor and he has Lucida. Michael looks forward to the ending of his oath not to drink liquor. Elizabeth fears that Michael will hurt Fairplay and the town people know all the Michael's hatred of Fairplay. Although Fairplay gives up the idea of giving Michael his own shop, he cannot leave Castlebridge because he is offered the position of mayor. Josh Parlock meets Lucetta After her meeting with Michael, he asks her to help him get positioned with Parkway. She refuses. Michael gives Job a package to deliver to Misato, and Job reasons that they are love letters. Parkway returns to court Elizabeth Jane. Michael is nervous about the courtship, and he becomes even more nervous when Elizabeth Jane says she must meet someone. She meets Newson, who tells her the truth about her birth. At the wedding of Elizabeth Jane and Parkway, Michael comes to reconcile with his stepdaughter, but he sees Newson's and decides to never trouble Elizabeth Jane again. Later, Elizabeth Jane realizes that Michael wanted to make peace with her, and she set out to find him. Abel Whittle, the man whom Michael wanted to fire once, cared for Michael in his last day. He tells Elizabeth Jane that Michael is dead. Michael last will state that no man should remember him. Elizabeth Jane resolved to do as she is told, preferring to concentrate on love for an husband and the family. The mayor of Casterbridge is set in the country of Essex, a land that has relied on the belief of farming folk for centuries. Thank you.